It's too late. With that, Lin Fei slapped his own mouth and added, "Look at my mouth. I'm actually speaking the truth. This photo is mainly because you have a good foundation. Otherwise, how do you think our family produces such beauties and handsome guys? I have to tell you, with your look, once the promotional video for the VR community goes live, I guarantee you'll become a sensation." Lin Fei, with his sharp tongue, managed to calm Lin Luo down after much persuasion. "You idiot, are you still watching?" Lin Luo, sitting angrily on the hospital bed, noticed Lin Fei sneaking glances at his phone and immediately got up to snatch it away. "What's going on with you? How did you faint last night?" Lin Fei wanted to say he didn't know either. However, before he could speak, Lin Luo's voice interrupted again. "Listen, you have money now. Don't follow in the footsteps of those bad examples. If you end up exhausted, I want to see how you'll handle it. Also, hurry up and find a girlfriend. I think our colleague, Jia Shanshan, is pretty good." Uffed. Lin Fei opened a bottle of mineral water, took a sip, and sprayed it out. Cough, cough, cough. "I mean, sis, your taste." Chapter 244. From now on, you shall be called the Fire Cloud Evil God. As the year-end approached, families began various creative ways to urge marriage and partners. Lin Fei was no exception to this fate. However, he naturally had his own methods to deal with Lin Luo. With just one question, the other party left in a huff. "Sister, do you have a boyfriend?" That single line was extremely insulting and hurtful. It left Lin Luo speechless, and she dropped the convenience bag she was holding and turned to leave. "Huh, trying to pressure me?" Watching her angrily walk away, Lin Fei couldn't help but feel a bit smug. The next moment, he walked over to the hospital bed and opened the convenience bag. Okay, maybe he had gone a bit too far. Looking at his favorite dishes inside the bag, minced eggplant and sweet and sour pork, Lin Fei felt a twinge of guilt. But now that the other person had already left, there was no chance to apologize. He could only secretly decide to send a big gift to her during the upcoming annual meeting. After eating, Lin Fei found himself bored again, so he lay on the bed and subconsciously opened the system, planning to continue constructing his player kingdom world. But what he never expected was that the moment the system interface opened, he was completely stunned. No, calling it stunned doesn't quite fit. It was more like, as he immersed himself in the world before him, he was dumbfounded. System, what is going on? Where's my operation interface?" Looking at the misty world before him, Lin Fei urgently called out. "The system has completed its upgrade. Please explore the new features on your own." "What do you mean I have to discover it myself?" "Wait, you just give me a hint and then leave me hanging? How am I supposed to play with nothing at all?" After the system explained one line, it fell silent. Looking at the barren misty world, Lin Fei started to complain. However, no matter how much he complained, the system remained unresponsive. It seemed like it really wanted him to figure it out on his own. Alright, dealing with such a system is quite the challenge. If it weren't for the fact that he still needed to rely on it, Lin Fei would have wanted to exit this empty misty world immediately. Since the system wasn't giving any hints and wanted him to discover things himself, fine, he would show it what he could find. He was curious to see what this upgrade would produce. With that thought, Lin Fei's consciousness took a step forward. The next second, he realized that with his movement, the mist around him began to flow as well, always maintaining a few meters of distance, making it impossible for him to see everything clearly. Damn! Just as Lin Fei was about to curse, he suddenly seemed to think of something. He looked around at the mist in astonishment, wide-eyed as he muttered to himself, "No way! Could this be the misty swamp I imagined last night?" Only then did Lin Fei recall what he had been doing before fainting last night. Looking at the swirling misty scene, he increasingly felt it was likely what he had envisioned. However, the final result still needs to be judged by himself. He crouched down and touched the ground beneath his feet. Wow, the texture feels just like the real thing. Amid the cold, there was a strong sense of humidity. Indeed, this was definitely the foggy swamp he had set up last night. Since it was a map he designed himself, did that mean he could continue to edit it? With this thought in mind, Lin Fei began to brainstorm ideas to add something to the map. At that moment, a scene suddenly appeared before his eyes. Oh my goodness! Is it really that magical? Looking at the species list that appeared, Lin Fei was shocked again. However, he didn't expect that his shock was a bit premature. As his thoughts continuously changed, the species before him began to transform as well. There were elves, plants, monsters. In short, whatever he thought of would manifest as a mini holographic image right in front of him, and it even displayed a price. Wow, no matter how the system upgraded, it still used emotional value as currency. Moreover, it seemed to be even more expensive than before. Emotional value, that thing. Oh no, where did all my emotional value go? Lin Fei, who initially thought he had plenty of emotional value, was now confronted with a balance that popped up before him. Seeing that there were only a few million emotional points left, he felt terrible. But he remembered that last night, his emotional value balance had exceeded 10 billion. And now, well, it's not completely gone, but with just a few million emotional points, he couldn't afford anything. Seeing his suddenly diminished emotional value, Lin Fei felt like a billionaire who had fallen to millionaire status. The pain in his heart was unimaginable. Although emotional value couldn't be spent like money, it was far more important to him. After working hard for a whole year, he felt like he was back to square one. This phrase perfectly described Lin Fei's current situation. System, don't you want to explain this? With a sullen face, Lin Fei stood still and asked in a deep voice. However, the system still offered no explanation for his questions. Damn it, I knew it. After waiting for a long time without a response, Lin Fei's expression turned extremely displeased. Yet, no matter how angry he was, he still couldn't do anything about the system. Damn it, with this little emotional value, I can't even buy a dog. Not receiving any response. Lin Fei cursed and vented his dissatisfaction. Woof woof woof. Just then, a sudden barking came from beneath his feet. What the heck? Just as I said. Lin Fei looked down and saw a Pekingese lying at his feet. His expression darkened instantly. At this moment, he felt mocked by the system. And it was a deep mockery. However, in the next second, he noticed something unusual. As the little Pekingese kept barking, smoke began to emerge from its mouth, followed by sparks shooting out. It looked like a malfunctioning lighter. Uffed. Just as Lin Fei was in disbelief, the next second, the little dog with a mouth full of sparks suddenly spat out a ball of fire. Then, it was gone. Wow, this is truly a peculiar dog. Looking at the little dog lying on the ground, panting with its tongue out, Lin Fei was completely at a loss for words. However, to be fair, this dog that can breathe fire is indeed a bit surprising. Fire-breathing puppy can be renamed Young Magical Beast, growth value 99, 1 to 99. Wow, is this really a stats panel? Lin Fei's eyes widened as he stared at the prompt bar appearing above the little dog's head. He never expected that his system would also learn from others. After standing in a daze for a while, he thought that the name Fire-Breathing Puppy was a bit outdated. Isn't there a dog on the internet that can generate electricity called Thunder King? From now on, you shall be called Fire Cloud, Evil God. Chapter 245, The God of the Great Snow Mountain? What the heck? Woof woof. The little guy seems quite satisfied with the name Fire Cloud, Evil God, happily circling around Lin Fei's feet. Wow. Is it really that perceptive? Seeing the Fire Cloud Evil God like this, Lin Fei couldn't help but exclaim. After playing with the Fire Cloud Evil God for a while, he finally noticed that the mist that had been surrounding him had retreated a bit. If he could only see within a 5-meter radius before, now he could see about 10 meters around him. It seems that this mist isn't static after all. Lin Fei stroked his chin, which had no beard, and murmured to himself. Then, as if he thought of something, he looked at the Fire Cloud Evil God at his feet, harboring a vague guess in his mind. To confirm his suspicion, he immediately used his thoughts to conjure a cat out of thin air. As the saying goes, with cats and dogs, life gets better. Now that his emotional value had been drained by the system, he had to start over. Of course, he wasn't completely without points. Players generate some emotions in the game every day. However, this little bit of emotion was hardly worth mentioning for someone who had once been wealthy. But after all, many a little makes a mickle. When the orange kitten appeared, it immediately sensed a hostile intent. Fire Cloud, Evil God. This is a companion. Lin Fei quickly reminded the Fire Cloud Evil God, who was showing its teeth with hostility. Upon hearing his reminder, the Fire Cloud Evil God slowly retracted its emotions. Once it calmed down, the Fire Cloud Evil God immediately ran to Lin Fei's feet and rested its chin on his foot, as if to assert its dominance over the little cat. You little rascal. Watching the Fire Cloud Evil God being so perceptive, Lin Fei chuckled and then looked around again. Just as he thought, with the appearance of the kitten, the mist retreated a bit more, creating an open space of about 15 meters around him. What the heck is this? A radar? A map detector? Looking at the situation in front of him, Lin Fei was completely bewildered. The system didn't provide any explanation. Everything was up to him to discover. He felt helpless about the system's irresponsibility. With no other choice, he had to continue trying. Animals like cats and dogs, even with skills, don't require much emotional value. After all, their thoughts are quite simple. Among all species, the cheapest would be those plants. Of course, the plants Lin Fei chose weren't ordinary. They were those with self-awareness. Just like a big willow tree he valued. However, the price, to be honest, even without the emotional value he once had, he still might not be able to afford it. Left with no choice, he had to lower his standards. Anyway, this world is not yet open to the outside. He could let them evolve on their own later. As the saying goes, Lin Fei had already given them the opportunity. As for whether they could evolve, or to what extent, that was up to fate. In the end, it all comes down to the lack of emotional value. With the emergence of various small animals, mountains, and rivers, the area around Lin Fei is expanding. Until a dense forest rises from the ground, the surrounding mist disappears completely. However, when looking towards the horizon, it still appears white and hazy. Now the basic conditions for survival are there. Just one crucial step remains. Watching the vibrant world emerge from nothing, Lin Fei feels an indescribable sense of accomplishment. However, he thinks that this world is still missing something. That is, people. No, after realizing the value of humans among the fabricated beings, Lin Fei was completely stunned. Since the beginning of creation, he had never seen such a multitude of species. At the same time, he didn't expect that among primates, there would be so many different kinds. Moreover, those that meet his criteria, humans with spiritual roots, are terrifyingly valuable. Human race, spiritual root, growth value, 50 to 1,000. Emotional value, 10 million. Alright, I admit I'm poor. Seeing such a high price, even when he was affluent, he would have to think twice. Now, his gaming world can be said to be another realm altogether. The price for fabricating intelligent life out of thin air certainly won't be cheap. However, what he never expected was that a human with spiritual roots would require so much emotional value. With the emotional value he has left, he might only be able to create one man and one woman. Wow, is this the story of Adam and Eve? Talking to himself, Lin Fei looked around the environment and muttered, but this looks more like a wilderness than the Garden of Eden. After some complaints, Lin Fei could only start selecting from the options. Within the human category alone, there are tens of thousands of options, and he even saw many unusual types of humans. For example, there are legendary lizard people from the center of the earth, ancient giants, and primordial dwarves. In short, as long as they stand and walk on two legs and have their own thoughts, they are all categorized under humans. Of course, the prices here are also incredibly varied. For instance, there is a creature called a hill giant, which, despite having a human appearance, has a face that is hard to look at directly. These giants are all over 15 meters tall and look extremely fierce. However, due to their low intelligence, they are priced very cheaply. You can buy one for just a few thousand emotional values. But their reproductive ability isn't very strong. Otherwise, Lin Fei would have to buy a whole batch. After browsing for an unknown amount of time, Lin Fei finally found a relatively suitable race in the browsing bar. Northern wilderness people. They live year-round in cold mountains and possess a strong survival lineage, able to survive even alone in harsh and frigid environments. Growth value, 500-1000. Emotional value, 50,000. A price of 50,000 is already at the edge of what Lin Fei can accept. The price is indeed a bit hard to accept. However, his interest in the northern wild people is not solely due to their low cost. He values their ability to adapt to any living environment even more. It can be said that this race is perfectly suited to the early demands of his game world. With 200 northern wild people, his remaining emotional points instantly halved. Although it stings a bit, looking at the crowd of strong, able-bodied men and women nearby, Lin Fei's face showed a satisfied expression. But the next moment, he felt a bit uncomfortable. Not for any other reason, but because the leader of this group was a robust woman who was only covering herself with a modesty cloth. Great mountain goddess, thank you for leading us out of the sea of suffering. The sturdy woman, at least 2 meters tall, suddenly knelt before Lin Fei. Lin Fei widened his eyes in shock as he looked at the imposing figure before him. Goodness, how did I become some kind of great mountain goddess? Chapter 246. Even in the hospital, you can meet Fans, the god of the Great Snow Mountain. This is the deity worshipped by the people of the northern wilderness. Due to their long-term dwelling in the snow-capped mountains, they have believed for generations that the Great Snow Mountain represents the entire world. There, snowflakes dance throughout most of the year. As a result, these not-so-intelligent people consider it a divine punishment sent down by their god. Not long ago, Pan Yando was praying with her clan, asking the god of the Great Snow Mountain to lead their tribe out of suffering. Traditionally, such prayers never came true. They did this to give their people and future generations a sense of hope. However, unexpectedly, shortly after their prayers, a mysterious voice emerged, claiming it would lead them away from the Great Snow Mountain range in the north. Before they could agree or refuse, the next moment, Pan Yando and her clan appeared in front of Lin Fei. Upon hearing the events from them, Lin Fei was once again shocked. He had never imagined that the group of people he had fabricated using the system not only had their own thoughts, but also possessed their own unique memories. Whether the Great Snow Mountain range in the north actually existed, Lin Fei could not ascertain. No, it could be investigated. Suddenly thinking of something, Lin Fei began to search in the option bar before him. After a while, he indeed found a holographic image of a mountain range called the Great Snow Mountain in the north. The god of the Great Snow Mountain. The god of the Great Snow Mountain. A miracle. It is truly a miracle. I see our village. With the appearance of the holographic image, a continuous range of snow-capped mountains unfolded before everyone. As the wild people saw the mountains, they all knelt down, exclaiming and bowing towards Lin Fei. Being worshipped like a deity or ancestor made Lin Fei feel quite awkward. Alright, everyone, please get up. Watching the rugged individuals stand up, Lin Fei found himself deep in thought. What happened after this system upgrade? He had a strange feeling that with the completion of this system upgrade, The entire game production system was not just a simple disappearance of the interface. He also sensed that these characters he had created seemed not to be mere illusions. There was an inexplicable feeling that these wild people standing in front of him were as if they truly existed. Could it be that the system upgrade brought over stowaways from another world? Lin Fei couldn't help but be startled by his own train of thought. If what he suspected was true, then could this game system still be considered a game system? In an instant, Lin Fei felt his mind was in turmoil. And even the plans he had previously outlined became chaotic. He didn't know how to proceed. If these people were real, then his game world would be quite a big deal. Overwhelmed with thoughts, Lin Fei lost the desire to continue. Looking at the 200 wild people in front of him, Lin Fei said to Pan Yinduo, "Now that you and your tribe have left the wilderness, you can live around here. As for houses and such, you'll have to rely on yourselves." After saying this, Lin Fei didn't wait for a response and directly withdrew his consciousness from the game world. Phew. He suddenly opened his eyes, staring at the pristine ceiling of the hospital room. For a moment, Lin Fei felt a sense of disconnection, as if he had traveled through time. Just moments ago, his consciousness was immersed in the game world, and after creating the Northern Wilderness tribe, he had come to believe it was a real world. Even those wild people seemed like living, breathing humans. Especially that strong woman, Pan Yinduo. If she were to come to this world, even a world champion in fitness would appear weak in comparison. But it was no surprise. If she didn't have such a strong physique, how could she run around in the vast snowy mountains wearing nothing but a modest covering? After lying in bed for a long time, Lin Fei's thoughts gradually returned to normal. It wasn't until he felt a bit hungry that he got up from the bed. Glancing out the window, he noticed it was already getting dark, and only then did he realize that a small part of the day had passed without him noticing. Lin Luo might really be angry. She hasn't come to bring food at this hour. With no other choice, Lin Fei put on his hospital gown and headed to the hospital cafeteria. "Oh, are you going to eat?" Just as he stepped into the elevator, a pleasant woman's voice came from behind him before the door closed. Lin Fei was surprised and found no one else in the elevator, so he turned to look at the entrance. "You are the nurse from this morning?" Seeing the beautiful woman enter the elevator, Lin Fei found her face somewhat familiar and tentatively asked, "What did you think?" Seeing Lin Fei's puzzled expression, the beauty chuckled. "You know me?" Lin Fei instinctively asked. But the next moment he realized it was a silly question. As a hospitalized patient, how could the nurse not recognize him? However, he didn't expect the beauty to pout and say, "TCH, I wish I didn't know you, but you're just too famous." Saying this, she pronounced each word clearly. Lin. Old. Thief. What a familiar title. Slap. Upon hearing her call him that, Lin Fei instinctively covered his face with his hand. Great. He never thought someone would recognize him while he was in the hospital. Thankfully, he only fainted. If it were for a surgical procedure on a certain part of his body, and he encountered a nurse who recognized him, that would be so embarrassing. No wonder those celebrities choose private hospitals. It seems there's a reason for that. Seeing Lin Fei's reaction, the nurse covered her mouth and laughed a few times, saying, "Don't worry, I'm a laid-back player. I won't hurt you." "Then why are you taking out your phone? Hey, why are you taking pictures?" Watching her clearly say she wouldn't do anything but then confidently pull out her phone to take selfies with him, he thought, well, it's not every day we meet like this. What's wrong with taking a picture together? It's unclear whether it's a case of like attracting like. But Lin Fei's fans always have a unique flair, and even their way of speaking tends to be somewhat similar. Lin Fei, clearly, has become immune to this. Watching the beautiful nurse continuously take selfies, even including him in the shots, Lin Fei could only silently show a helpless expression. However, seeing his reaction, the nurse immediately protested. "Hey, I say, come on. Can't you be a bit more cheerful? I'm going to post this on social media." "Seriously? Do you think this is appropriate?" Upon hearing that she was going to post it online, Lin Fei immediately objected. He didn't mind her taking pictures for herself, but posting it online, what would happen to his image? In that hospital gown, who knows what people might think? Although Lin Fei isn't afraid of gossip, it's still best to avoid such situations whenever possible. Let's skip the social media post. How about I treat you to a meal instead? Chapter 247. Entering the game to film? Aren't you afraid of the penguin? I didn't expect that. Entering a hospital, even the nurses are fans. Looking at the concerned expression on the other person's face, Lin Fei answered without hesitation. What is there to be afraid of? The company is just that capable. Even if there are foreign teams involved, it's still the same. While speaking, Lin Fei opened his social media. Currently, the hottest topics related to games include Lin Fei's Player Kingdom VR community and another one, the Cyberpunk from the Penguin Company. Though the names and natures of these two products are different, their styles are surprisingly similar. This kind of imitation is not a coincidence. Any reasonably wise netizen could guess who is copying whom. Of course, copyright issues regarding game scenes can't be laid out in the open for discussion, especially when dealing with a company like this. If you accuse them of plagiarism, well, they might just bite back. Even if they can't take a chunk out of you, they can still annoy you for days. Therefore, Lin Fei isn't very optimistic about the Penguin's cyberpunk. Looking at his own VR community, the comments online are all sorts of strange, and many trending terms are associated with his VR community. Exploring the outer realm. Is the VR community really just a community? Amidst the myriad of topics, suddenly a particular one caught Lin Fei's attention. Seeing this topic, Lin Fei couldn't help but be startled. Oh my, could this person be a time traveler? Otherwise, how could they know my plans? Noticing that there were quite a few comments below this topic, he began to scroll down. The original poster must have been assigned to the Black Domain. Otherwise, how could they possibly leave the Mechanical City? Yeah, the entire Mechanical City has over 70 known areas, and it's a city that accommodates players from all over the world. You can't even explore it all and still think about leaving? The previous comment is off. Although the community is not a game, exploring is still quite interesting. Brother, you hit the nail on the head. Ever since the VR community launched, I haven't even played games anymore. I just admire the scenery and hang out at bars every day. Let me tell you, it's really great. Yeah, I'm in Area 33, studying architecture. The buildings here are truly astonishing. Wow, you're already amazed? You haven't seen the transit tower in Area 43. That's truly spectacular. What you have is nothing. I have a mechanical prosthetic shop here. The owner offers free installations and even free amputations. Dude, that's outdated. I'm using prosthetics now, and they're the latest models. Let me tell you, after getting them, going into the world of Biohazard to fight zombies is just exhilarating. Rich guy, do you need any accessories? Wow, there really are rich people getting mechanical prosthetics? Lin Fei was astonished to see someone getting mechanical prosthetics from the comments. Mechanical prosthetics are not cheap. The starting price in RMB is 50,000, and the one on display is the most advanced model. One really cannot view these wealthy players with ordinary eyes. No wonder the game is so popular among certain players. The motivation is clear. As Lin Fei continued to scroll through the comments below, he discovered that while players were satisfied with the community, they also had many suggestions. Everyone was responding that the community only provided player interaction and auctions, which felt a bit monotonous. Even though each block had some bars and entertainment venues, those bars were quite conventional. Regarding the players' complaints, Lin Fei had already come up with plans. However, due to the sudden fainting episode and the system upgrade, many ideas had surfaced in his mind. To realize these ideas on his own would likely take a long time, and he probably wouldn't make it before the new year. But he could have Kamaki create a trailer. After pondering for a while, Lin Fei found this approach feasible and decided to discuss it with Kamaki when he returned to the studio the next day. As the saying goes, each profession has its own expertise. Previously, when no one was available, Lin Fei would create CG trailers himself. Now that he had professionals, combined with his own superior technology, he found himself looking forward to the trailer. Because he had something on his mind, Lin Fei was somewhat absent-minded at the dinner table. Tang Lan noticed he was preoccupied and didn't bring it up. After finishing their meal, the two walked out of a small restaurant opposite the hospital. Given the hospital's proximity, it wasn't unusual for Lin Fei to be in a patient's outfit. By the time Lin Fei returned to his hospital room, it was already dark outside. The beautiful nurse, Tang Lan, added him on a messaging app before leaving. A quiet night passed, and Lin Fei managed to get a good night's sleep. Early the next morning, after completing his discharge procedures, he took a taxi back to the studio. Shooting a new trailer? In the small studio, Kamaki, who had been called in, was surprised to hear they were going to shoot another trailer. It should be noted that the promotional video from Lin Luo had just been completed. How could there be another one? It's going to be released as usual, and the game will continue to operate. What I'm talking about now is the content that will be revised next year. Saying this, Lin Fei took out a simple script he had prepared in advance, or rather, the outline of a small story. Take a look at this. I plan to have it premiere on all screens in the VR community on New Year's Day. Everything was going smoothly until Kamaki picked up the notebook Lin Fei handed him and suddenly looked dumbfounded. Boss, I can't read. Hearing this, Lin Fei's face turned awkward. It then occurred to him that although this foreigner could speak the language, he didn't recognize any of the characters. There was no other option. Lin Fei had to take back the notebook and narrate it to him. Magic and machinery colliding? Upon hearing the plot, Kamaki's eyes widened. He had never expected that the other party would go this big this time. Is there a problem? Lin Fei looked at the other person in confusion. Oh my gosh. Seeing Lin Fei's expression, Kamaichi exclaimed, Boss, this is more than just a problem. How are we going to handle the special effects? According to what you said, even if this preview is only 5 minutes long, the funding required is no less than that of a commercial blockbuster. Upon hearing that the other person was only surprised due to funding issues, Lin Fei's worries instantly dissipated, and he smiled, saying, Haha, don't worry this time. We're not filming a movie in reality. We're shooting directly in the game world. When the time comes, I'll find a way to get those native NPCs in the game to cooperate with you. Upon hearing that it wasn't a movie shot in reality, but rather in a game, Kamaichi was even more astonished and asked, shooting in a game? What about our equipment and staff? Chapter 248. Lin Fei enters the game world hearing Ku Maki's words. Lin Fei realized that the filming by the crew and his solo efforts using the system were completely different matters. However, this issue was easy to resolve. After all, in that magical game world, everything could be fabricated using emotional values. Thinking about his dwindling emotional value, Lin Fei felt that this matter needed to be addressed promptly. After calculating the time, he spoke up. There are 27 days until the new year in our country. Let us aim to finish the video shoot in half a month. Seeing the troubled expression on Ku Maki's face, he added, "Don't worry, I will personally oversee the filming, and I will ensure all NPCs cooperate with you." With Lin Fei saying this, Ku Maki no longer hesitated and immediately nodded in agreement. "All right, boss. I will mobilize all the staff at DreamWorks to complete it within half a month." He then muttered under his breath, "Oh no. It seems I won't be able to go back home." According to the original plan, Ku Maki intended to finish editing Lin Luo's video and then return home with his team members. Although he didn't need to reunite with family, most of the team at DreamWorks were foreigners. They all knew that during the new year in our country, employees typically received extended holidays. As the head of DreamWorks, he certainly wouldn't neglect his loyal team. However, it seemed that was no longer possible. Hearing Ku Maki's complaint, Lin Fei also recognized the situation at DreamWorks. After some thought, he said, "Old Ku, how about this? Go back and tell all the employees at DreamWorks to bring their families over here to celebrate the new year together. I will cover all expenses. We can book a hotel and hold a big New Year's party." In just 1 year, the Player Nation had grown from nothing to its current brilliance. While it was all thanks to Lin Fei and the system, the employees also contributed significantly, especially Sanjio and Sanxiao, who helped share a lot of the storyline design. Since this was the case, why not hold a grand celebration? Upon hearing Lin Fei's proposal, Ku Maki's face instantly lit up with excitement. "OMG, boss, your success is definitely not a coincidence. With such a generous boss like you." To be honest, Lin Fei felt a bit embarrassed being flattered by someone who was about the same age as his father. Ku Maki, however, continued to shower him with praise. All right. You handle the arrangements for this. But we need to agree beforehand that you must take my teaser seriously. I'm counting on it to surprise players worldwide during the new year." At this, Ku Maki, the old enthusiast, immediately thumped his chest confidently. "Boss, don't worry. I will show you what professionalism looks like." Regardless of where one was from, staying in our country for a long time could lead to some level of assimilation. Don't believe it? Just look at this old enthusiast in front of you, effortlessly spouting fluent internet terminology, and you'll know how deep the assimilation goes. Looking at the renowned director who once thrived in the river, Lin Fei couldn't help but think of those guys online who spoke with a strong Northeast accent. It must be said that the linguistic culture of this country is indeed profound. With Lin Fei's generous promise, the next morning, when he met all the staff from the Dream Factory, he was greeted by a group of highly motivated individuals. At the same time, those foreign staff members. Upon meeting Lin Fei, all praised him in their clumsy Mandarin. Faced with everyone's compliments, even with thick skin, Lin Fei felt his face getting warm. He raised his hand to signal everyone to be quiet. "Everyone, I won't say much more. I believe the director has already communicated with his team. Since that's the case, I'll briefly outline our shooting process. In a moment, we will go to the warehouse where all the equipment was installed last night." Lin Fei briefly introduced the filming process and informed them that no additional items were needed. Upon hearing they would be filming inside a game, everyone couldn't believe it and widened their eyes in disbelief. These individuals might not be famous internationally, nor known in the film industry, but together they formed the well-known team behind the River Project. They were the unsung heroes and industry elites. However, filming in the game world was something they had never experienced before. As they arrived at the warm storage, looking at the coffin-like equipment connected with cables, curiosity sparked among them. "OMG, is this what the internet users referred to as the sensory experience chamber? Honestly, this appearance reminds me of my grandmother's burial. What the heck? Can you two say something? I can't wait to experience this." Looking at the equipment, the group of foreigners began to chatter excitedly. It seems that no matter where people are from, they all have a curious heart. As they discussed among themselves, everyone was eager and ready to dive in. Hee. Seeing their naive expressions, Lin Fei smiled slightly and said, "This batch of equipment will belong to your Dream Factory from now on." Filming promotional videos in the game world is not just a one-time thing. Moreover, this equipment has been specially processed, and you can scan your work ID to enter, which will exempt you from real name verification, along with some employee benefits. "OMG, Lin, you are the best boss I've ever met. Trust me, I'm speaking the truth. No need to mention it. It's our honor to work with the boss." Hearing that they could enter the game without any verification and also receive employee benefits, smiles spread across everyone's faces. At that moment, any compliment related to Lin Fei came pouring out from the foreigners, regardless of appropriateness. Some even struggled to come up with a compliment, their faces showing signs of distress. At this moment, Lin Fei finally understood the meaning of the saying, as long as I am not embarrassed,